The Civil Rights Movement began in the year 1954. For the following 14 years, the movement would grow and ultimately have an effect on an entire nation of people, including my grandmother, Eculer Bosch. Eculer Bosch was just 8 years old when the movement began. While the experience of the Civil Rights Movement was different for every African American, hers was that of a young woman who grew up in the Deep South and later moved up north. Her experience growing up in Dayton, Alabama exemplifies just the subtlest of ways in which discrimination ruled a significant part of America.
Knock on the door. We just had to stay in our lane. We went to the store, and you know how to behave. You were well polite. You asked what you wanted, and then you just left the store. There were things like, if you wanted ice cream, we had to go into a certain door. Usually it was the back of the store. White kids were served in the front of the store, nice ice cream, and we had to go to the back, same ice cream. But this is a time that we was living in. It was black and white all the time. We were not allowed to drink in a water fountain if they had one.
While the DQ that my grandmother went to wasn't completely segregated, it was a group of laws called the Jim Crow laws that allowed other establishments to be able to separate blacks from whites or completely refuse service to African Americans. These laws began after the Reconstruction period and lasted until the end of the Civil Rights Movement. Steps to end these laws during the Civil Rights Movement included the Brown versus Board of Education. This ruling resulted in the desegregation of schools. Another example is the Woolworth lunch counter sit-in. This resulted in the desegregation of lunch counters across North Carolina and other states. The last example is the Montgomery bus boycott in Alabama. This was led by Rosa Parks, and it ultimately ended in the desegregation of public transportation, mainly buses.
Martin Luther King Jr. At that time, to see him on television, his wonderful speeches that he gave us, with having dreams for our future, to open our eyes to so many things. There are so many things that we are missing, small things in life that we wasn't allowed to do, to read, to listen to. So he's a great guy. And his walk, when he was in Washington, when all the people showed up in his speech, I Have a Dream, talking about his 4 children, you would just hope that your 4 children would live to see what a great person he is, how he was fighting for all people, not just the black people, but all people in America and throughout the world.
These laws and the increasing violence and discrimination against African Americans, leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. emerged in the spotlight. King believed in not using violence, but instead peacefully protesting. Being that he was a minister, he was made into an even more popular activist due to his religious qualities. He is famous for his march from Selma to Montgomery and his march on Washington, where he delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech.
I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
Other major activists included Rosa Parks and Malcolm X. Rosa Parks was famous for refusing to move from her seat when being told to by a white bus driver. Although Rosa didn't necessarily want to become one of the most influential faces of the movement, Martin Luther King Jr. persuaded her to because she was the ideal face due to her positive role in the community. Rosa then went on to inspire a boycott and continued to symbolize the movement. Malcolm X was known for being more willing to use physical retaliation. His bluntness is what attracted people to him. Unlike King or Parks, he focused on Black Muslim faith very much. His bluntness, however, caused many in America not to like him, and it ultimately ended in his assassination. This was also the fate of Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes, it was April 4th, 1968. I was sitting at home, just had given lunch to my 4-month-old son, who was born on January 15th, Martin Luther King's birthday. I was so sad, I just could not contain myself. I just cried and cried and cried. I composed myself and called my sister, and I called my mother to let them know. They already had watched the TV and heard about Martin Luther King. And I even talked to my brother, and we all said it was such a sad time that we was going to miss Martin Luther King. And we hope that we could always remember his dreams that he shared with us.
Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on April 4th, 1968. He was shot by James Earl Ray while standing on his balcony at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. His death is seen as the beginning to the end of the civil rights movement. Due to his assassination, many began rioting on a large scale across America. This rioting put pressure on the American government. As a result, the Civil Rights Act of 1968 was passed. This act stated that housing had to be equal, no matter the race, color, religion, or national origin. The passing of this act marked the ending of the civil rights movement. In 14 years, the people came together to make changes in laws and social norms. They did this by fighting and persevering through vile language, death threats, and murders. This movement was a movement of strong people. It was also a movement of many different people from many different backgrounds. The diversity in this movement is why it still affects everyone today in America. What is your opinion on the organization Black Lives Matter?
I think this organization is very good. It keeps us enlightened on what's going on here in America. It's remembering Trayvon Martin, the young man that was killed. I have grandchildren. I worry about them going out at night, getting killed, and not returning home. We need someone to speak for these kids, to have a voice, to let others know what is happening here in America in 2018. Things like this should not be happening. We need a future for our young kids.
You believe Black Lives Matter is going to help them reach out to these kids and reach out to the people who are killing them?
Yes, because it's keeping the hope and your dreams alive. These kids need to have a future, to be here to carry on for all of us.
And what about All Lives Matter? The people that say All Lives Matter over Black Lives Matter because Black Lives Matter isn't inclusive to all.
All lives do matter, but right now, the young people that are being killed, like Trayvon Martin, are Black, young African-American boys. They're leaving home and not returning back home. We are concerned, we're worried. We need someone to speak up for us, for them, and carry this on.
Today, Black Lives Matter is seen in many African Americans' point of view to be continuing the legacy of the civil rights movement. Like Martin Luther King Jr. or Malcolm X, many people from diverse backgrounds are coming together to fight against discrimination, unjustified killings, and unlawful verdicts. The civil rights movement may have ended 50 years ago, but because of it, the times that we are living in are much more diverse. This isn't just in skin color, but it is also in religion and cultural identifications. In order to protect this advancement in society, we as a generation need to speak up and speak out. We cannot stay silent and do nothing. If we continue the steps of those before us, we will see a positive change, not only in ourselves, but in other fellow Americans.